What is up, my nerds? This is another episode of
Video Nerds.
I'm the ManNerd, and as always, every day I am here with
Steven Shred. That's me.
Yep. I took away part of your lines though. I wanted to see what you would do.
I'm a man on the fly. I could do it.
You just roll with it, man.
Yeah, that's what we're all about.
So today's episode is special because, well, every episode is special, but this one is special because it is Gen V, the spinoff from the series The Boys, which Steven Shred and I absolutely love. It's messed up, but it's so good. So why don't you tell me what your expectations were for Gen V first?
Yeah, just real quick, a little added thing to that. The Boys was actually, if I'm not mistaken, one of the first, or maybe the first series that me and you started watching together as a weekly thing.
Yes, I think it was the first.
Yeah, so that was the start of a beautiful schedule of watching stuff together weekly.
Yeah, and it's been like 2 years now. Been a long time.
So my expectations were really high. A lot of people are kind of like, at first we're overlooking the series because spin-off series tend to not have the greatest track record, but coming from The Boys as the main series, my expectations were super high. I knew it was going to be messed up. I knew we were going to see some crazy stuff. And I knew that there was just going to be like some insane stuff going on underneath. And I was excited. It was just what I wanted, The Boys always leaves me wanting more. And it's always 8-episode seasons. And I hate it. So I'm like, finally, like a little more.
Yeah. Never enough, man.
Never.
Yeah, this one, I wanted it to be really good. And I just really didn't think it would be. I thought it was going to be like a, secondary to The Boys. But, yeah, well, you know what? I'm not going to say it. You say it. How did you like the first 3 episodes?
Oh, man.
How does it compare?
I mean, as far as comparisons, I think The Boys will always outshine it. 1, we're 3 seasons deep on The Boys. And 2, like, The Boys just has the whole thing that this show is working off of is it's very much in the same vein. Not that the characters are the same or anything, but the style of the show and the feel of it is very similar. So you can't really outshine the thing that set that up, especially in this kind of thing. It's always the thing of like, the thing that inspired it. It's like, yeah, sometimes the thing that inspired it isn't as good. But when we're talking about The Boys, a main series, a recent series, like The Boys is going to be better, but this series just meets my expectations, man. 3 episodes in, and I'm just like, I have to wait a week? Man, this sucks.
Yeah, I know. When we saw that there was 3 episodes after that first one, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Too bad I have to get up early. Shit.
Otherwise,
I'm sure you just went to town.
Yeah. I went to town on that, and then on top of that, I finished Castlevania Nocturne day 1 too. So that day was a day of binging. I was a gluttonous boy that day.
All right. Yeah, I absolutely love the series so far. It's definitely not as good as The Boys, but in certain ways, I think it's a little bit better. I'm a sucker for like teen shows, so this is The Boys, but the teen version. So that really gets me, especially college movies and shows. Like, for some reason, I just like those, man. I just like them.
Just takes you back to what you perceive as a simpler time.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel that when you're in it, but now that you look back, you're like, back in the day, man.
Yeah, but if you went to a school like this, woof.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to do it. I want to get into some spoilers. We're going for it.
Let's do it.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
So at first, this series kind of felt off with the intro. It felt like The Boys a little bit, but I was like, oh, come on, why are they doing this? But it seemed to work out because you get to see the crappiness, and then you get to see it lighten up a little bit, and then you get to see it get crappy again, and then lighten up and then get crappy again. So it's like The Boys.
Yeah, very much so. I was also really happy that we didn't dwell on that past too much, because if it would have went straight from, her powers manifesting, she accidentally kills her parents, Then we have to go through her going into, you know, the system and
Foster
then
care, all
going.
that.
Yeah, like I thought it was going to be like that. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be the entire first episode. Nope. We fast track straight to where she gets accepted to the college pretty much.
Yeah, which is fantastic. That was definitely the best way to go about it.
Yeah, because a lot of series will try to use stuff like that to show us tragedy, to show us all these things to make us care for the character and see what they're going through, to like make the wins even more triumphant, which I understand, but it's such like a trope at this point that I'm like, okay, like another character with a tragic backstory and you're going to show us all the bad stuff. It's like, I don't need that. I get it. Like, that is horrible. Like, that's enough. Like, we could go now.
Yep, and everybody's going to have that, which you kind of get hints towards when you get to know the other characters a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, on the first episode, what surprised you the most?
I mean, the most surprising and unsurprising thing ever is seeing Clancy Brown in something.
Yeah.
I swear that dude's in everything, but I still am like, hey, that's Clancy Brown. Dude, I think the biggest thing is the, which not the most surprising thing in the world, but the way they went about it was, you know, you had Golden Boy, the number one, you know, he was going to be the new member of the Seven, and he murders the professor, gets in this huge fight, and then blows himself up. I did not think it was going to go that way. I thought he was going to get captured and taken in, and that was going to be a whole thing. But he just
or
goes
like
out,
escape.
Yeah, he just goes out with a bang. I was like Jesus.
Like literally.
Yeah, like I did not expect
guts everywhere,
that.
bang.
Yeah, I didn't expect to go that far. Like I thought it was going to be like, oh, they're going to capture him like they captured the guy in the beginning who turned out to be his brother. Like I thought it was going to be like this whole thing where he gets captured, now they got to rescue him, and then in doing that they uncover that he was doing it because his brother is down there, so they got to get both of them now. But he's just like, nope, boop.
Yep, done.
Yeah, that was wild.
Now, I just realized who that actor is.
Oh, really?
I never knew that. Yes.
Who is he?
Patrick Schwarzenegger.
Well, I mean, that's a last name that you can't confuse with anybody else.
Nope, you cannot. I knew that his son was an actor, but I didn't realize that was him.
I would not have gotten that, but I guess because he doesn't look like he's built out of granite, I wouldn't have made that connection.
Yep, I don't think he's a bodybuilder.
Nah, did not. I mean, dude was in pretty good shape, but yeah, definitely not built like his dad, which, you know, it's not like his dad's naturally built like that or anything, but still, it's one of those things that I wouldn't have made that connection.
Okay, so I'm going to list off some of the characters right now. I'm
right.
going to do 3. You do 3. And then we're just going to talk about them a little bit, their name, their powers, and then we're going to talk about what characters we like the most. So I'll take it since she's the first one. Marie Moreau, who is the main character, basically, the one that kills her parents accidentally when her blood powers manifest in puberty, her first period, which is really messed up.
Yep.
So she obviously has blood powers. She's a constant liar because she doesn't want people to know that she killed her parents and came from an orphanage where if she doesn't make it in the school, she's going to go into, I guess it's like that hospital from the last season of The Boys.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Yeah, that's what they made it seem like, because it doesn't seem like all the people that were in there were like captured or anything. Some of them just seemed like they were there.
Yeah, so they just put her there for the rest of her life, which would suck. Okay, so from there, let's see. We got Emma Meyer, who is her roommate in college, who is called Cricket, and she can turn small and has like 1 million YouTube followers, and she's very quirky, tomboyish, and very depressed too. You find that out for certain reasons. And then from there, we've got the teacher's assistant, Jordan Lee, who ends up having 2 sets of powers when they change genders, which is very weird. I've never seen that before in this context, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah, we got Andre, who seems like he's going to be the kind of right-hand man to Marie a little bit. He's definitely playing into the role. His thing is apparently he has, I wasn't sure exactly what it is, but apparently it's magnetic manipulation. So some magneto action going on.
Yeah, I was thinking like metal manipulation-ish. Yeah.
I thought it was just purely telekinesis, but I guess it makes more sense in the context that he uses it with the whole like shaping the butterfly thing and all that.
Yeah, and his dad was called Polarity.
Which was going to be my next one.
Yep.
Yeah. So Polarity, which, you know, he's Andre's dad. He was a famous superhero. I have a feeling that although normally like characters like that don't play a big role, I have a feeling that he's going to pop up every once in a while because he is the whole thing of the forest and all of that was brought to his attention by Andre because they're talking about the things that Golden Boy had told him before he died, and immediately his dad's like, don't talk about it. Like he's just trying to silence him on it. So I'm like, there's something more going on. I feel like the dad's going to play a little bit of a bigger role as far as like as far as all that goes, because there's definitely some weird stuff going on in there, you know, which we can only assume is going to be something really bad and really messed up because it's the boys.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and then third, we got Kate, who was Luke's girlfriend, aka Golden Boy. She has, I'm not entirely sure what it would be called, but
She's a pusher.
yeah, she has the ability to touch people and influence their decisions and kind of, you know, force them to do whatever she wants. She talks about consent and all this stuff, but every time we see her do something, there's none of that. At one point, she tells a dude to every day, or go buy a bat, and then every day go into the quad and smack himself in the balls with it. So it's like, I feel like she's a little she's a little non-consensual when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
And that's not even the most messed up thing she had someone do, which we'll let you find that out.
Yeah, that was dark. But yeah, like I have a feeling that her power is going to come into play a lot with having to convince people to do certain things, especially if all this stuff starts getting uncovered, which it for sure will. And, you know, all of a sudden they start getting hunted down or something like that. But the powers definitely like verging on the side of like a lot of the typical stuff you would see. But the way that the boys does powers is always like, it's not pure and perfect the way that like DC or Marvel does. And that's one thing I've always really liked, because it's like you see how you could use those powers, but then like the very beginning of this show, you see the downside, the horrible things that could happen. So
yeah, even a slight mistake.
Yeah, like Andre's floating that butterfly through the club, no big deal, you know, trying to pick up on a chick, and he accidentally slits somebody's throat because he stops paying attention. He gets bumped, not paying attention to it, and then bloop, just cut somebody up. So it's like it's cool to see superheroes in that context where the outside world and the way that their powers affect it are not always heroic or helpful in nature. Sometimes it causes really messed up stuff. But I will say Marie's blood power is just super cool to me. Like,
yeah, it's so cool.
Like,
it can crystallize it.
Yeah, dude, I really hope, as lame as this is, that we see her make like a big blood sword at some point and just like full battle somebody.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm glad we're on the same page then.
Yep. I was like, she's got to learn how to make a blood sword.
Dude, make rivers of blood. Do it.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm just going to go into my favorite character. Mm-hmm. It's a surprise because she wasn't at first. Emma. Mm-hmm. Throughout the first 3 episodes, I ended up liking her more, even though she's very depressed, darkness all through her. Her powers are messed up the way she has to get small. She has to throw up, and every time she throws up, she gets smaller. So there's that whole aspect of making it not a disease, which it probably is, but she says it's not. And, you know, calorie intake and staying healthy and all that crap. And then what everybody else thinks. Oh, man. I think that whole thing around it, which I've never thought of that's what makes me like that character the best.
I think she had a really good point, too. Because Maria's whole thing was like, she was like, oh, but it's so bad because you have to throw up. She's like, yeah, well, you have to cut yourself. And it's like, oh, yeah, huh? That's bad, too.
She's like, that's different. That's my powers. It's like, yep.
Same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, as far as a favorite character, I don't think I have somebody focus in, but I'm very interested in Marie as a character because the blood bending thing is just like super badass. And then I want to see how much this lying and this kind of like face that she puts on affects things down the line, because I have a feeling it will, because it seems like she even says it, like she goes into the fake story and all that stuff so easily now because she's taught herself to do that. What other issues are going to arise because of that, you know?
Yep. She's already kind of creating enemies almost, especially if she keeps it up.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see where this series goes, and I think it's meeting my expectations, but in ways that I didn't see coming, because it's like I like the like college-y age kind of thing, like stories that happen, because it's always like somewhat of coming of age stories, and a lot of the times those are like kind of feel good-ish. With this though, unlike a lot of those, you in other things that are based around this age group, you have like one or two characters that you like. This one, there's kind of something to like in all of these characters, and I think that's something that the boys did really well too. Just good characters, and even like the worst supervillains like Homelander,
except for Huey. You can't like Huey.
Yeah, it's like, you have like Homelander, you have A-Train. These are characters that we don't like, we're not supposed to like, but in a sense, there's something there where you're just like, it kind of makes sense. The only character that I just like full on 100% do not like in The Boys is the Deep. I think he sucks no matter what.
Oh yeah, he totally sucks. Almost as bad as Huey.
Huey's just frustrating.
I just hate on him because he's annoying.
Yeah, like Huey's one of those, like, Huey's almost like an anime protagonist where it's like, just do it, stop, what are you doing? And you just get frustrated with him.
Oh yeah, totally. All right, well, yeah, I think we should wrap it up. Any favorite moments you have other than the explosion?
Oh man, I think the leading up to it, seeing the face off between Jordan and Golden Boy, I keep on forgetting his name, Luke.
Yep.
Seeing the powers of people that we don't see fight, because they're in college, they're doing all these things. We don't actually see them use their abilities, like in a sense of like actual combat. We see a little bit of it where Luke has like a little like one-on-one match in the beginning, but it's kind of like, just whatever. It wasn't like super crazy, but seeing like the full-on like it's on fight was really cool to me.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's like, it's cool hearing about all these abilities, but actually seeing them get used and seeing where their powers are and where their fighting abilities are, that's always like such a cool thing to me.
Oh, heck yeah.
What would be yours?
I was thinking about it, and I was going to pick like an action-y one, but truthfully, it's the fundraiser. That whole fundraiser there, because there was a lot to it. You get the characters coming in, you get to see a little bit more of Jordan Lee and their relationship with the parents. You find that the dad doesn't approve of the gender swap side of the powers. Yeah. And then you've got Andre that gets with Emma and sends her down. And there's all this character growth and all these things coming together. And I like that a lot. Those sort of moments just bring me in.
Yeah, it was it's always like interesting to see too, like the difficulties that they face as heroes, as far as like, the pressure of it, the complications, and just like they're juggling their own thing too. So it's like we get a little insight into who they are as characters, but done in a way that actually makes sense, as opposed to like weird info dumps and stuff like that have become so common these days.
Oh yeah, and you even get Marie Moreau, who kind of was part of the group and then did something shitty and kind of screwed everybody over, even though it wasn't really her fault. And then she still kind of, relates to the others in that group, and you can tell that she's being pulled into this with them now.
Yeah, so it's also really nice to see. I might get a little hate for saying this, but we all know it's true. A lot of writers have a tendency to make perfect female characters these days.
Yep.
It's nice to see more characters that are written like real people, where, put in a situation like that, there's not a whole lot of people who would go against it and be like, you know what? no, I'm not the one that did it. You know, a lot of people would just be like, especially put on the spot, just take all the glory.
And she was practicing doing the right thing and just totally swapped it.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, it happens.
Yeah. So it's nice to see, which I wouldn't expect anything less from the creators of The Boys, you know, because that show is filled with imperfect characters. But it's always nice to see, especially going towards, you know, I don't know if the age demographic for this show would be aimed lower than The Boys, but usually shows like this do have a target audience that is on the younger side, and that's why they tend to make these like perfect characters. But it's nice to see in this setting like really imperfect characters that screw up, say the wrong thing, but do mean well. And I also like that she's just like, you guys have this going on, you have this going on, you guys are ready to screw me over, so screw you guys. I like that too, because I don't like a holier than thou character as well.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted her to throw that in their faces more, but she didn't.
Yeah.
Only if it really needed it.
Very excited for the rest of the series.
I'm so excited. I just can't wait. And then Emma being down there and going through that guy's ear through his brain. Oh, man.
That good old gore.
And that's where it ends. Okay. Well, can't wait for the rest. We will review the rest of the season after it's done. And in the meantime, I highly recommend everybody watch it. And if you haven't watched The Boys, watch The Boys as well.
Yep, we'll be back in November to tell you what we thought of the whole series. And hopefully you guys tell us what you thought as well.
All right. Well, catch you later.
Later.